I'm not teaching, I'm publicly learning. Hi, welcome to Learning for Life in the UK, test part 388, the Middle Ages, and maybe it's the same time because it's in the appendix now. The Middle Ages while doing standing leg gymnastics, and if you participate in the standing leg gymnastics, that is a challenge. The first exercise is the moderator. We have the feet standing together, and we're just drawing to the top and back of the feet. So just front of the weight and back to the heels. The Middle Ages. The Middle Ages cover the time after the Norman Conquest until the Wars of the Roses. Okay, 13th century, there is the monarch John and then Edward I. With John, there happened something important in 1215, so 1215, and what happened? It happened that the Magna Carta introduced during King John's rule was happening. We'll go to the next exercise, we're doing one foot in front, the other one a bit back, and we're rolling back, we're lifting the toes of the front leg, we're going in front, we're lifting the heel of the back leg. So in 1215, where John was the king, where the Magna Carta was introduced, and the Magna Carta established that was the Bill of Rights. Yes, it was the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta established the idea that also the king is subject to the law. So there was said that the king has a limit. The Magna Carta established the idea that even the king was subject to the law. It protected the rights of nobility and restricted the king's power to collect taxes or to make or change laws. We're changing the leg. We're going to this in front. Feel up and back. Then in 1314, it happened that the Scottish, led by Robert the Bruce, defeated the English at the Battle of Bannockburn. Do we have any explanation to what happened there? I think we had the English king fought with the Welsh, Scottish and Irish noblemen for control of their lands. In Wales, the English were able to establish their rule. In 1284, King Edward I of England introduced the Statute of Rutland, which annexed Wales to the Crown of England. Huge castles, including Conway and Carnarvon, were built to maintain this power. By the middle of the 15th century, the last Welsh rebellions had been defeated. English laws and the English language were introduced. Now, next exercise, we're exercising right apart. When we go from one side, we're lifting the heel always up to the other side and lifting the heel up. In Scotland, the English kings were less successful. In 1314, the Scottish, led by Robert the Bruce, defeated the English at the Battle of Bannockburn, and Scotland remained unconquered by the English. Around 1400, in England, official documents are being written in English, and English becomes the preferred language of the royal court and the parliament. I also think of Geoffrey Chaucer. And the other person was, it was such a name. The next exercise, we're doing the leg in front, we're going onto the front leg, and again back, so just go back, and over the weight onto the front leg and lift feet up, the back leg up. It was not John Lord Joubert, he developed the television. I think I already remember it another time. But for now, it is, as written here, John Babu. So, by 1400 in England, official documents were being written in English, and English had become the preferred language of the royal court and parliament. In the years leading up to 1400, Prophet Chaucer wrote a series of poems in English about a group of people going to Canterbury on a pilgrim march. The people decided to tell each other stories on the journey, and the poems described the travelers, and some of the stories were told. This collection of poems is called the Canterbury Tales. It was one of the first books to be printed by William Caxton, the first person in England to print books using a printing press. And John Booth was in Scotland. In Scotland, many people continued to speak Gaelic, and the Scotch language also developed. A number of poets began to write in the Scotch language. One example is John Booth, who wrote the Bruce about the Battle of Knockburn. Then Henry V became king, and he was king from the 21st April 1507 until the 28th January 1547. So it was not 1507, it was 1509. It was 1509, 1547. 21st April 1509, 28th January 1547. And last time was exercise, and I think we have in the next one, we're going to repeat singing together. Nobody leaning in front. And then again back. 1415. It was not Henry V, not Henry VIII. Henry V was not monarch. In 1415 there was the Battle of Agincourt, and it is the most famous battle of 100 Years' Wars. And there King Henry V's vastly outnumbered army defeated the French. 1415, the Battle of Agincourt, Henry V. Then in the mid-15th century, there were the Wars of the Roses. No. Mid-15th century, last Welsh rebellions are defeated. English law and language are introduced in Wales. Yes, we had it just there. Mid-15th century, the last rebellion were defeated. And English law and language were introduced in Wales, but there is today still a Welsh language television broadcast in Wales, and people can learn Welsh and are learning Welsh in school and university. And last exercise, we are doing basically card phrases, we're going basically up a little bit. 1415, the English leave France. It was just one sentence. Why is that here listed as one of the top 10 things? 1455. The Wars of the Roses start between the houses of Lancaster and York over who should be King of England. Until 1485, the Wars of the Roses end with the Battle of Bosworth Field. King Richard III of the House of York is killed, and Henry Tudor of the House of Lancaster becomes Henry VII. He had it all. He married Elizabeth of York, the niece of Richard III. Let's move the exercises. We're doing a bit stretching. One leg with the heel into the ground, and we're going a bit in front. So, Wars of the Roses, 1455 for 50 years until 1485. House of Lancaster and House of York were battling who becomes the next king. And then in the Battle of Bosworth Field, King Richard III was killed. Henry Tudor married, the other leg with the heel into the ground, continuing in front. Henry Tudor married Elizabeth of York, the niece of Richard III, and he became king, and then known as Henry VII. And the House of York had the right rose, and the House of Lancaster the red rose, and now they had the Rose of Tudor. That was the standing election listing. I'm going to end it here. I thank you very much, and until next time.